Hello and welcome to Herein Lies the Peace of God, Awakening Together Sanctuary. The Awakening Together Sanctuary is an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. The host of Herein Lies the Peace of God is Reverend Jacquelyn and Eckert, the President Minister of Awakening Together. Our co-host is your favorite anarchist preacher, Reverend Glen Ganaway, integral scholar. The Course in Miracles says this about discerning one truth. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Sing glory, glory, hallelujah. How wonderful thy holy name. Now I can see with God's own vision, and I see peace instead of pain. Yes, I see peace instead of pain. I can see peace instead of pain. Amen.
We got
we can't do that without getting the wee doggies in there. That's just what happens. How are you? How are you today, Jacquelyn?
I'm great. It's good to see everybody here. Nice to have a nice full room, a nice full screen.
Yeah, nice panel here. Expecting
Yes.
to see enough YouTube videos that goes bringing to you tonight, as you can see on our panel. So we're really great to be here. You make it all possible. You really do. We're of course we're not doing this alone, are we?
Yeah, no, that's impossible. How was your week, Glenn?
Oh my, pretty good. I liked this question today, and the way she spends most of the time talking about what's difficult about it versus like what what it actually is. She goes really into like a lot why we don't do it, and it has to do with sickness and suffering and and bodies and things like that.
Well, I'm thinking we should tell folks what the
Tell them what question
is.
13 is from the Manual for Teachers. What's question 13?
I hope it's question 12.
12. It is 12.
Okay, I'm like, because I have no idea what 13 is. I haven't turned the page.
We haven't done that yet. We have not done that yet.
Again, this is from Course in Miracles Manual for Teacher, section 12, and it is called "How Many Teachers of God Are Needed to Save the World?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what is a teacher? What does a teacher look like? What does a teacher kind of act like? This is kind of like the nitty-gritty about it. And today, I'm prepared. I prepared this lesson during the week, and then we had a talk on Wednesday about the proper use of denial, how the Course talks about the proper use of denial. And then I'm doing this week on what is a teacher of God. These things are synchronous. So today my boss came to work, and his wife called him and told him that she had tested positive for COVID, and this is the person I work most closely with in my work life. Now, I'm at one of those places, one of those great places that has a vaccine mandate, and they take my temperature twice a day, and masks are worn in the office if you get up from your desk. There are plexiglass barriers between everything, that you can't just like walk by anybody or lean anybody over at his desk, anything. So that's the situation. So I'm like going, oh, I guess I'm going to practice being a teacher of God today, aren't I? I guess I'm going to practice what I've been, talking about, and like actually physically have to feel the feelings and do this and do the internal work in real time, because if I can't do this in real time, then I can't really talk about it tonight. I have to be able to sit here and do this. What is sickness? What is suffering? What is going on with this body? what power is out there trying to take something away from me, all of those things. So I had to sit at my desk, and a few cheers later, it's like I just said, I'm not in charge. I'm just not going to be in charge here. I'm going to give all of this to oneness and wholeness, and my own sense of there are no errors, and and the body I have and the teaching I have is coming through in this moment for what I need to learn. I need to learn and pay attention and understand this moment and this understanding and work with what's happening now. I don't have to go anywhere else to practice these principles, work with how I understand them. So it was a chance to, be a teacher, be one of those bodies, because she talks about one, there's one teacher, right? To be
Right.
and to be in the instance of being the teacher and the taught, that kind of understanding that I'm the teacher, but I'm also listening to the one teacher. The teaching it's not my teaching.
And
And
you wouldn't want to hear that, would you? You
No.
wouldn't want to hear mine.
No.
I mean, I don't
No.
know about yours.
I barely listen to Yolanda. You can imagine what I think, what I do with my own advice.
Right.
How you work with this, Jacquelyn? Have you had how did this land as you were preparing for this this talk?
Listen, I love what this has to say. It's beautiful. It's simple. It fits in with, not surprisingly, with everything that's coming in. I got tickled when you were talking about the denial of the denial of truth, because that rang loud and clear for me as I read this. I think it's lovely. As we go along, and we have, by the way, decided to do a different format tonight. But as we go along, we can talk about just exactly why it's lovely. I think it's funny because I think it's like, how many teachers are needed? One. How many do you think there are here? One. I mean, this is not hard. This math is really simple. So it's just felt
However,
the introduction felt really tongue in cheek to me.
It did. She was, she just like threw it off. She's like, not throw it off, but it was like, she goes, okay, da 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 da. This is why you won't do it.
I'm really anxious to hear. I don't know, anxious anyway to hear what you have to say about it. What you read when you read it.
Yeah. What's going? But this is this comes after. I mean, the part where well, we're on lesson 13, so that's why I guess why I thought it was question 13. It's chapter 12. Because lesson 13 was today, a meaningless world engenders fear. So as if you're doing the course, you're discovering. We're going through. You're doing the course on the lessons. You're going through how and understanding how we build meaning as human beings. And the teacher is a direct. Who is the teacher is a direct meaning making device. It's like, I'm not making the meaning. I'm where do I find meaning? Where is it created? So it's not me that's doing it. And so it really fits in well with all of that's going on. But remember that last week we talked about the obstacles to peace last week in a good portion, because we talked about that's chapter 10, chapter 11, or section 11 was how is peace possible, because we're listening to many voices that are competing,
Well, and you talk about again tongue in cheek. I mean, because her answer to that was, how's it not possible? So I think she boils this stuff down to really its essence and the real simplicity. Yeah, and it's just the choice to see or not.
Yes, that every year kind of has a different emphasis for me. This year is turning out to be a year of owning choices. It's like everything is always a choice. I can choose to align myself with what is true and work with what is true, or I could explore my pathology and dysfunctional thinking a little bit more, which is always an option, I'm going to continue suffering for just a little bit more because I need, or whatever, because I can't see, I can't work with what I don't see. And that's a lot of what the teacher's talking about is that it goes, how do we as individuals see differently? Well, often it comes from an kind of an outside source that says, have you ever thought about looking at it this way? And why do you listen to some people and not to others? That was interesting to me too. It's like, why do some teachers resonate with you and other teachers don't? It's like, what is a good, it really threw it out. It goes, what makes a good teacher? I said, all of it's teaching. There isn't even levels of that. So it was, as exploring this, I was excited about looking at all those things, because she does a good number on it. But we're about a quarter in, so should I read the whole thing first and then we'll talk about it, or let's do it by paragraph?
Yeah, well, and that's what we talked about, folks. Glenn emailed me and asked me if we could change this up, and instead, what we've been doing is reading the whole thing and then kind of doing a point counterpoint thing. One of us tells what we think and the other one tells what they think, or gather or whatever. And Glenn suggested we go through it paragraph by paragraph, and wondered why we hadn't been doing that. And I said, because it gives me flashbacks from the early Course in Miracles groups, where everybody would, you'd read a paragraph, you'd argue about it for about a half an hour, and then you read the next paragraph and you go, oh, well, that's what that first paragraph meant. So, we've.
I never had that. I never did that. I never did that group thing. I listened to Earl Purdy, and the way Earl Purdy reads the book or explains it, he says a sentence and he stops and goes, what does that mean? And then he reads the next sentence and he goes, what does that mean? And then he reads the next sentence. So he would read entire chapters, that way. And it's like, I don't know. It was like, if you just keep going. Just keep going is really, was generally the answer in those groups. But anyway, I made us digress a little bit. I apologize for that. But no,
so we are changing
context is, context.
Yeah. So do you want to read that first?
I do. I'll read the first paragraph of. It's called. We're calling this chapter 12 or question 12, and it is from the Manual for Teachers, and it's how many teachers of God are needed to save the world, and this is what she says or wrote down. The answer to this question is one holy perfect teacher whose learning is complete suffices. This one, sanctified and redeemed, becomes the self who is the Son of God. He who was always Holy Spirit now no longer sees himself as a body or even as in a body. Therefore, he is limitless, and being limitless, his thoughts are joined with God's forever and ever. His perception of himself is based upon God's judgment, not his own. Thus does he share God's will and bring his thoughts to still deluded minds. How's that? He is forever one, because he is as God created him. He has accepted Christ as he is saved. So we even get a Course in Miracles lesson there, right in the middle of it.
Can you read the last 4 words? Because I'm looking at the Sparkly edition, and that's I just want to know if it says the same thing that you just said.
He is forever one, because he is as God created him. He has accepted Christ as he is saved.
As he is saved. Interesting, because mine says, and he is safe. Anyway, I don't know that it makes any difference, but just
let's see what I did there. I could have quite possibly. I don't know how I could copy pasta do that differently, but
No, it's all
if
good. It's all good.
possible.
I'm always interested where those things differ, and
Mhm.
that's just purely intellectual pursuit. Well, most of the time, just an intellectual pursuit. So I'll let that go. But yeah, thanks for
Sure.
rereading it. Would you like to comment on what you read, or would you like
Well,
for me to comment?
why don't you start?
All right. Again, I think it's really funny. I saw Yolanda laughing as well. Yeah, how many teachers of God are needed to save the world? One. The answer to this question is one. And then the next line, one holy, and notice, I think throughout this book, the words holy, Holy, and holy, Wholly, are interchangeable.
I do too.
Yeah. So one holy, perfect teacher whose learning is complete suffices. And it occurs to me that if this is read with the egoic mind, ego's having a field day with that one. It's like, oh, haha, right, one holy, perfect teacher. Well, good luck then. It kind of like obliterates the whole question. It's like,
Yeah.
if you're reading with ego, you stop after that sentence. I
Uh-huh.
mean, it's like, one holy, perfect teacher. Are you kidding me? Well, all right, I might get there in 30 years or 50 years or next lifetime or
Mhm.
whatever it is. But so it's interesting because, again, it just feels like ego would throw out the entire section based on that answer. Oh, I have to be wholly perfect. But that's not really the point.
Oh.
The point is that there is only one thing going on here. There is only one of us, and that one thing is perfect. And however it shows up, even though it shows up in many forms, many faces, all right, many beliefs, many actions, there's just one thing going on here. There's only one mind, one consciousness to be awakened, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's only one dream.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like many. Yeah. So it says that here. It says this one sanctified and redeemed, and again, I think we talked about redeemed last week. In fact, yeah, to atone or make amends for, a correction, actually, correction to our way of seeing, right? So this one, sanctified and redeemed, becomes the self who is the Son of God. And again, it's this this idea of remembering the truth, and remembered by the mind. Remembering by the mind only needs to happen once. It says that he who was always Holy Spirit now no longer sees himself as a body or even in a body. Again, it's a recognition of the perfection of what we are. And therefore, he is limitless, and being limitless, his thoughts are joined with God's forever and ever. And I love that what the belief in a separate self is a limitation on the truth of what we are. So it's just that willingness to adopt for ourselves these limits that don't exist, but as long as we believe in them, they seem to limit us.
They operate because we believe in them. They operate in our consciousness. They operate in our mind because we believe in them, not because they're true. So to ignore them, ignore them at your peril. Ignore your favorite illusions and your favorite fears at your peril, because you drop the oneness immediately if there's all this other, if you've got to be separate and you've got to be different in order to make things happen. What else?
Let's see. Yeah, his perception of himself is based upon God's judgment, not his own. Thus does he share God's will. And I think she picks this up later on in this reading. I think it becomes really, really clear that the belief that there's a choice to do other than think with God, than be what you are, that choice itself is an illusion. The choice that there's an individual will is an illusion. And I think that she's alluding to that here. I also liked when you read his, he shares God's will and brings his thoughts, God's thoughts, to still deluded minds. And I just love how that word could be read either way in that sentence. Either way works with what's being conveyed here, right? To yet deluded minds that are still deluded, or to still this delusion, right? To like the monkey mind thing, to
Still
just like
deluded
bring
minds.
stillness to it. Yeah, I just
Uh-huh.
think it's cool how it can be read both ways. Yeah, so you're the one son is what the one son always was. There's only one thing that's never changed. Yeah, there's no reason to continue to believe these limitations. I'll turn it over to you, Glenn.
I liked this first paragraph because it reads like a Southern Baptist hymnal. Didn't you get that? Because the holy, this one sanctified and redeemed, us is that these, you get names here. You are sanctified. This one being, this one teacher within us all, sanctified and redeemed, becomes the self and this one Son of God. Sounds like a Southern Baptist hymnal to me. I think that's great. And then she continues on with this idea. With this, what I love, you are limitless. She says, the one teacher within us, as us, is wholly perfect, and in which our learning is complete, and that we're sanctified and redeemed, and we become the self, the Son of God, and we're not in as we are not in as or in a body. We're not bodies. Oh gosh, I think I wrote this. He who is always Holy Spirit no longer sees himself as a body or even as in a body, as a body or even in a body. That was a big change for me. When the Glen was a program or a surface idea that I was working through and living through, and it's like a part of my learning device. This Glen and my personality and my talents and everything like that is the learning device. Isn't necessarily the holy part of me. So letting go of the necessity to be a body, because I was an athlete as a kid. I was an athlete, lettered in gymnastics and lettered in track. So the body the body has been very much a way of me identifying in the world, how I present, what I do, being noticed. I'm 6 foot, I'm 6'1", extremely attractive, I know. But, so this idea of being, it's important that this body look a certain way and act a certain way and speak a certain way. And I'm proud of those things that I've done, and to move away from that work on my body and that identification with that body, to live through my body and as a learning device and not as my body was a big really switch for me. I think that, that is like, can you see the teacher beyond the body? I remember listening to, maybe I've told this story before, but many years ago, I was at a job where they rolled out this psychologist says, guess what? We're going to expand your healthcare benefits. We're going to put mental health in there too. So they brought in a mental health expert and says, you're going to be a part of this mental health system. We've organized. Your job is buying into. And the gentleman giving the lecture for about an hour, about all the programs and things, like this, drank 2 tumblers of scotch and smoked 4 or 5 cigarettes. You know what I mean?
Right. There's how you deal with your mental health.
I know. I'm saying I'm getting like, mental health, so it's like the teacher, what the teacher says and what the body is doing, and like how our mental health and our belief systems are mapped across our bodies as well. So it's like this, and she's going to talk about a lot about this, about about how human beings and how we do that. So remember, and so once we do this, and once we are sanctified and redeemed, we be able to have these. We join with the thoughts of God in one. We finally see that there's one will, the teacher of God,
yes.
As one will. Yes. And the goal being, again, to expand it, to give it away, to be the conduit, not to hold it on, not to, I got this knowledge, I got this knowledge, it is for me, and I'm going to put this on a shelf or write a book or something like it's to come through me, it's to be lived and experienced, so to accept the Christ as my identity, the holy anointed again. And so the promise is that we're saved, we're saved, and we're saved from the illusion of expression or the illusion of performance. And yes, I looked it up on ACIM.org. It says saved. From Manual of Teachers, it says saved.
Oh, well, not mine.
But saved works too.
Well, yes, it does, and I appreciate you emphasizing that again. Yes, he is forever one because he is as God created him. He has accepted Christ, and he is safe. And again, this kind of goes back to the original point. How many teachers of God does it take? There's only one of us here, so the answer must be one. And I see that Kathy has asked a similar question in the chat box. What about the teachers whose learning is not yet wholly complete? And I think that this again. I don't know why it's written this way. I don't know why it's tongue-in-cheek here. I don't know why she just doesn't say, hey, there's only one of you, so there's only one that can wake up. There's only one that can save itself, himself, ourself, however you want to say it. But I don't think I don't think she's really answering the question that she purports to propose here, Kathy. I think she's going roundabout to say, you're not out there to save other people because there's no one else to be saved. I think that she's saying similar to what NTI says, which is think about awakening as the spreading of the light within the one mind. So what she's really talking about in this entire section is the belief in separateness, as opposed to this fundamental understanding that there's only one, and there's only one thing going on here. So
I think, yeah. and to also put another little spin or perspective on it, realizing where you're not not wholly. What was the phrase that Kathleen used? Teachers who are not learning whose learning is not wholly complete. Okay, so that's the journey of me being complete. It's like I already am the realization of the truth in the expression of that truth. It's like what the beginning of the manual says. He goes, this is a required course. The time that you take it is voluntary. So this is like you're already complete. And she says later, there is nothing to learn, and at the last chapter of the Course in Miracles, there's realized that there's just your expression and yours to do in the world. So what you need to know is what you need to know. I don't need to know. I don't need to teach physics because that's not what I'm here to do. That's somebody else's thing. So I know, and I know everything that I need to know. I don't know what I don't need to know right now to take the next step that's forward. So the teacher that's not wholly, whose learning isn't complete, well, that means that for me, hearing that the teacher is not wholly complete, I'm only willing to listen to some of the teaching and implement some of the teaching, and not to let go, like Regina talks about. The body can take care of itself. That complete release. I'm not at complete release of, the Glen, the body, the thing like that, and it's just walking and expressing, and I'm the complete and utter observer and watcher. That's I'm not going to claim to be there. So maybe my learning isn't complete, but the teacher's learning is complete. So I'm given the information I need when I need it. I don't have to know everything in the world. It comes to me when I need it.
You say, Glenn, the the teacher's learning is complete.
Oh yeah, the teacher's learning. But I mean, when I'm as, when I think of a teacher whose learning is not complete, that would be me on a journey.
Yeah.
The small T, maybe a big T for, big T for Holy Spirit, little T for me. I don't know. That's the way I've understood. So let's get to the next paragraph.
Shall we? Shall I read?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thus does the Son of Man become the Son of God. It's not really a change. It's a change of mind. Nothing external alters, but everything internal now reflects only the love of God. God can no longer be feared, for the mind sees no cause for punishment. God's teachers appear to be many, for that is the world's need. Yet, being joined in one purpose and one they share with God, how could they be separate from each other? What does it matter if they then appear in many forms? Their minds are one. Their joining is complete, and God works through them now as one, for that is what they are.
There it is, that we have to change our mind. The changing of our minds and becoming the child of God, or accepting our inheritance, what the Course talks about, accepting our inheritance, that that's the way it is. This eternal continuity of reality, it is so ethical and so kind that the continuity is there for her. The eternal reflection, the experience of this internal reflection of the love of God. That's an idea of like, I'm operating past ego. Not that my ego's gone or anything like that, but just like I can see it. My ego has, for me, mostly I can say that my ego has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now, sometimes participate in it, but there are places where, it doesn't exist for me, and there are places where it really does, and it's strong. But this internal reflection. So there's external reflection of the world in the way we learn, the way we understand this learning device and our projection. And there's the teacher as an internal reflection of God's love. So there's reality within me that is informing the projection that I'm singing or that I'm experiencing. And I love the many needs as one, the many needs as one. They need, because we need the world, because the world is asking for many teachers, I didn't learn everything from one teacher. Does anybody learn everything from one person? I learned a lot from my mom, but then I have favorite teachers and books and things like that. There are many versions of this teacher. There's many bodies that are going through this, that are teaching me, but there's only one message, because the truth is true, and it's all over the place. We can find it in the Bhagavad Gita. We can find it, all kinds of places in Muhammad, peace be upon him. So it's this internal reflection was what really struck me of, I want to be joined in one purpose. And that was a real touchstone for me. Have I joined with the teachers? Am I on message with the teacher? Am I a the way Miss Abraham talks, am I a cooperative component, in reality? Am I a cooperative component? I thought about that. So we're joined in one purpose, and this is intent. And like what you and I both always say, means matching ends. I'm doing it, I'm thinking it, I'm believing it, I'm taking action on it. And those aren't different things. I want to live in the world that I say is what I believe. That I want to reflect the internal reflection. So it goes in and then back out again, in and then back out again. That reflection from the interior, as opposed to just outside monitoring. That projection, which is like monitoring bodies through space, and the internal is divine reflection. So I can actually see what things are, because I can't really see what things are. And that's what the teacher says. Are you willing to slow down, be present with what is, so that I can teach you to see as I see? In the Course of Miracles, that's Christ's vision. So God works through many as one. I've just loved that, God works through many as one. She would have to, because I can't, there's some things that I just can't hear I can't hear some people say. I just, in my past and in my learning, I've learned from women in women's voices. I've learned from people of color through people of color's voices. I've learned from the disabled through listening to the voices that I've been taught by listening to the voices of the disabled and the marginalized and things like that, because those are teachers for me. And I can't, those voices and those teachers aren't available in everybody. Well, they actually are, but the presentation and the experience and how I interact with it, I learn when I get that information, because the door is open for it. I have to do half of the work, So listening to different voices, and I'm always seeking out somebody whose experience I want to learn from, so I don't have to go through it. I don't have to be disabled to advocate or understand enough to lessen the suffering of those that are disabled. But I have to learn it from those that speak as disabled in order to not, to get past my ignorance and my misunderstanding. So those many teachers I think have been really beneficial and really important to me. How did you experience that?
Interesting. Again, I appreciate your take on it. It seems like she's saying some really fundamental things here, some really simple things here. You talk about saving the world. We're not talking about like making no more earthquakes or no more famine or no more war.
No.
That's not what we're talking about.
No.
What we're talking about is a change of mind. And it only seems like there are 8 billion people who need to change their minds, because there's not 8 billion people. But just if I were to somehow figure out how to get inside your dream, your nighttime dream, to wake you up, I would appear as whatever images appear already in that dream. I wouldn't come in with a burst, and scare the hell out of you. I would work through what seems to be given, and what seems to be given is 8 billion characters. And again, she just points out that there's only one thing going on here, and gosh, it looks like a lot, but who cares, because there's only one thing going on here. It just seems really, really simple to me, real fundamental. What does it matter then if they appear in many forms? There's only one thing going on here. So that's what I see in that paragraph.
It doesn't matter. The meaning doesn't, the truth coming out of whoever's mouth doesn't change the truth. And I need to examine why I can only listen to the truth from certain people. That's been some of my experience.
Well, I don't know that either. I mean, I think the point you make is really valid, because I think we do, there are teachers that resonate with me that won't resonate with you. It's just, that's the way it is. So the circumstances of my seeming life from A to here, from A to B, right, will seem to make me more compatible with some teachers rather than others. But again, if they're teaching, then they're all teaching the same thing,
Yes.
just from different angles.
Yes. And I often need to hear the same message in several different ways before I can like internalize it. So why I come around here, why I like to listen to you, why I like to listen to Regina and others, because I hear it in a different way and it lands a different way, and I see it from another perspective. The teaching is the same, but I need your experience to illuminate my ignorance, to illuminate what I don't, my incomplete learning. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Oh, I should read. Let me read.
Yep.
Ready? Okay.
Perfect.
So, why is the illusion of many necessary? Only because reality is not understandable to the deluded. Only a very few can hear God's voice at all, and even they cannot communicate his messages directly through the Spirit which gave them. They need a medium through which communication becomes possible to those who do not realize that they're spirit. A body they can see, a voice they can understand and listen to without the fear that truth would encounter or find in them. Do not forget that truth can only come where it is welcomed without fear. So do God's teachers need a body for their unity? Could not be recognized directly. Again, it's that burst in the door. It's like, you scare the crap out of you. You want it in a form where you go, oh, tell me more. Not, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, your turn.
No, it's the spoonful of, it's kind of the spoonful of sugar. And it's like and the idea that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? Yeah, lesson 13. That's exactly right. 5 directly links today's lesson to lesson 13. We've been saying that, yeah, that's how we started out. This meaning making. How am I deluding myself with my own crazy sort of meaning making? And you read through Recognize Directly. Is that what you read through?
I don't know. No. Where? Yes, I did.
Okay. I actually combined the next two, next two, those two paragraphs. I thought were like kind of basically one thought. So I kind of broke the rules there.
That's all right. You want me to go ahead? And
yeah, I want you to go ahead.
Yes. Yes. Yet what makes them God's teachers is their recognition of the proper purpose of the body. As they advance in their profession, they become more and more certain that the body's function is but to let God's voice speak through it to human ears. And these ears will carry to the mind of the hearer messages which are not of this world, and the mind will understand because of their source. From this understanding will come the recognition in this new teacher of God of what the body's purpose really is, the only use there really is for it. This lesson is enough to let the thought of unity come in, and what is one is recognized as one. The teachers of God appear to share the illusion of separation, but because of what they use the body for, they do not believe in the illusion despite appearances.
There's a teacher, there's a message, there's a teacher of God for everyone. And there's a message for God that I can understand, no matter what language or level of understanding or intelligence or experience that I have. There's a teacher and an understanding and or a book or a way of getting this information to me. I'm not out here because I'll never understand, or I'll never get it. That's not possible, right? So that's so ethical. It's like, oh, just keep working, just keep with it, And those that are still dreaming, dreaming their bodies and dreaming their individuals, there we are, they know not their spirit. And that's the whole thing. The teacher is saying, you're more than this little limited decaying thing. That was so liberating for me that I don't have to have my esteem in the body I have, and I don't have to have a look at evaluating people on, that hierarchy. Oh, so, because to be in movies or to be in media or the things there's like the idea of like the beautiful, to be a presenter on television, you need to be like, have a beautiful, beautiful body, you need to have a beautiful, a symmetrical face or things like that. And in order for people to be compelled to look at you, they've done all kinds of studies with children and babies and about the more time that you spend on symmetrical, a body spends more time on symmetrical faces and things like that. So we have an inclination to do this. We have an inclination for it. And so each of us are programmed and sort of like pre-programmed with our experiences and our likes, dislikes, and talents to find and to respond to a certain set of teachers or understandings that are custom designed for us. It has been so unique to me to find out that you couldn't have like written out the circuitous path I have come to this moment. It couldn't, or who I talked to and the decisions that I made and, the people that have influenced me and songs that hit me at just the right moment and things like that. The teacher is always around in many different forms. And to recognize that I'm always being taught, no matter the form that it is, was really liberating. It helped me to be willing to be present at all times, because the teacher is here. You know, the teacher is here. I am in the presence of, always in the presence of the teacher, you know, my teacher, my, you know, my learning. And if I could hone my ability to stay present with what is, I can gather the message. Few hear the voice for God. I believe that. And again, for me, this hits me really, like I spoke of, as skills development. You know, did you hear it as skills development? It's like getting better at something, trying to get better at learning and listening, and to let the voice, you know, so she calls it a profession. She calls it your profession, you know? So it's like, what are we doing? How are we, you know, what is our profession? The way I say it is like, what is yours to do? You know, and there's the other words of profession, that is a profession of faith. This is like, this is what I believe, this is what I do, this is who I am. Like, what is your profession? You know, a profession of faith or a profession of doubt or whatever it is. What are we going to do? And if we're interested in doing that, we can be taught. That is an openness, willingness to be present and to be taught what we need to learn, what I need to learn right now for what I need to do. And that's going to be different and specific to what somebody else is going to be. The teacher's not going to be different, but the message and how it's delivered is going to be custom built for me. But the teacher doesn't change. And the promise is that the message will be heard. And I want to be, that's what I would like. I want to be effective. You know, I want to be effective. And it's just the confirmation of my purpose and my vocation. And it is the message of oneness, that many bodies, one teacher, many expressions, one life. You know, we have on our land in Vermont, we have a whole bunch of white pine trees, but they were all planted. Some of them were planted all in a row and at the same time, and others are children of those, and they're all over the place. And the children of the ones that were planted into the thing and maintained, and, you know, like for a row crop kind of thing, are perfect and straight and everything. But all the children are like, you know, like dancing, you know, like really odd. So it's like those, it's all necessary. It's all the expression. And the ones who are weird looking aren't any less pine trees than the other white pines that are on my, you know, they're on my place. They're all the same species, all the same genus, all the same land and everything that, but they look and act and will have different purposes because they grow and express differently. I won't be able to use I'll be able to use the trees differently because of how they grew and how they manifest and how they came up. They will have different purposes, but they'll be basically the same tree. So that's how I think about it. And Jackie's like going, okay.
I got to tell you that this format is throwing me a little bit. It really is.
We might abandon it altogether.
Yeah, I don't know if it's format. I don't know what it is, but I read something very, very different in this paragraph. And again, it's what I read was there's only one thing going on here. You only have one purpose, and that is to recognize the one thing that's going on here.
Yep.
You know, it says they become more and more certain of that function. As they advance in their profession, they become more and more certain that the body's function is but to let God's voice speak through it to human ears. That's it. There's no, my function is to go be a great opera singer. I mean, I might do that, but that's not my function. That's not what this is about. That's not what's going on here. And it says that the people who hear the message, whatever message I'm able to bring forth through this vehicle, will be heard and recognized, not because there's somebody else out there taking down notes and going, Eureka, I finally figured it out, but because like recognizes like. So the this poor way to say it, but the source within will recognize the words of the source as they seemingly come to it from without. It's like Paul Hederman, when he teaches here, he talks about you don't understand what I'm saying. Good, because I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the one behind you, right? So it's like it's just this this affinity that it's this growing recognition of oneness, and that's all the body could possibly be for. It's not for anything else. And it seems to say then, as the truth is spread from source through this body and recognized by source in that seeming body, that it continues exponentially to spread from there. From this understanding will come the recognition in this new teacher of God of what the body's purpose really is, right? What was that old hair commercial, hair dye commercials? And she tells someone, the screen got
Bella
bigger.
Balsam, School of Advertising. Yes.
Yeah, well,
And so on and so on. Yeah.
Yes. And then finally, it just says, that's the whole purpose is to let this be said enough that the one mind finally begins to hear it. Mm-hmm. That the one mind, through this portal and through that portal and through that portal and that portal, that the one mind finally begins to get it. And it says, and while it seems like there's a teacher over there and a teacher over there and a teacher over there, these teachers really understand that seeming separateness from other teachers is only a part of the illusion, right? And in fact, she'll go on to talk about that in terms of denying this denial of truth, denying, in my opinion, is what A Course in Miracles means when it talks about forgiveness. That's what forgiveness is seeing that it appears to be many and knowing, yeah, that's an illusion. That is forgiveness. So anyway, I'm done.
Yeah. I like the expression of that. I mean, that's why I use the idea of the pine trees. It's like they're both to be able to see the pine tree no matter how it appears. Mm-hmm. And it's always useful, maybe not in the same way or the same understanding or even at the same time, but they're all one. It's all doing the same thing. So to recognize and to participate in that oneness as an active way of seeing the world. Like I'm cooperating, I'm not trying to have power over, I'm not trying to take apart. I'm seeing everything as wholly working together as one thing, me included, and just because, I claim to have some kind of conscious level that is this, that, or the other, everything that is alive has that. So everything that is living is a part of that oneness. So there aren't hierarchies of learning. There aren't hierarchies of being. There is living, and my participate in it, my participation in the oneness or not, and I can join at that. I can join with it at any level that I want to,
I hear you. Yeah.
So I thought it was a lovely way of, so I'll read the next bit. Wow. Central lesson is always this. So this is the last bit, right? Have we made it to the last paragraph?
No, my book shows 2 more paragraphs.
Okay,
go
good.
ahead.
Well, second to the last paragraph. The central lesson is always this, that you use your body, that what you use the body for, it will become to you. Use it for sin or attack, which is the same as sin, and you will see it as sinful. Because it is sinful, it is weak, and being weak, it suffers and it dies. Use it to bring the word of God to those who have it not, and the body becomes holy. Because it is only holy, it cannot be sick, nor can it die. When its usefulness is done, it is laid by, and that is all. The mind makes the decision, and as it makes all decisions, the mind makes this decision as it makes all decisions that are responsible for the body's condition. Yet the teacher of God does not make this decision alone. To do that would be to give the body another purpose from the one that keeps it holy. God's voice will tell him when he has fulfilled his role, just as it tells him what his function is. He does not suffer either in going or remaining. Sickness is now impossible to him. So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, the central lesson is always this, that what you use the body for, it will become to you. So if you're using it to demonstrate wholeness, that's how you will experience it, as whole. Use it for sin, or again, I think the words belief and separation can always be inserted in A Course in Miracles where it says sin. So you use it for the belief in separation or attack, which is the same thing. That's what you're going to experience, right? So again, what we talked about before, means and ends are always the same. If you use it to bring the word of God to those who have it not, nobody has it not. But if that's what I'm using it for, if I'm the mouthpiece of God, if you will, if I'm fully fulfilling that function as a teacher of God, that's going to be my experience. When it says, because it is holy, or remember, holy, whole, right? Whole or limitless, it can't be sick, nor can it die. It's just a vehicle. I don't give a damn at that point whether it's sick or dies, frankly. It's just a vehicle. It's not what I am, but it's the vehicle that I use to communicate the truth with other seeming bodies. And it says so. And so when you're done, you're just going to lay it down. And but by the way, you won't make that decision. And why won't you make that decision? Because you don't exist, right?
Yeah.
And to the extent that you think you exist, then you're going to try and exert an independent will, which doesn't exist. But the belief that there is an independent will keep you tied to this body and keep you in this cycle of birth and death, and this belief in all of that, when none of that is necessary. It's again to just recognize the unity now and just give up all that. You don't have to worry about sickness and death and all of that. Anyway, that's what I read.
Yeah, I liked this because, you know, she goes, fulfill your role and your relationship with your body will get a lot healthier. Be what you're about doing, and why you have the body you do, the body and its condition and its actions and likes and don't like will become very apparent. You know, so even if it looks some way or another way, or there's a judgment about the body I have or the way it functions, it's going to be perfect for my learning, for my understanding, and for my teaching. It can't be any other way. I join with what the oneness is. I join and use all my learning and all my skills in order to be the expression of peace. And the condition of my body has nothing to do with it. The condition of my body, the state of the material world has nothing to do with it. That's comforting to me. So I don't have to manage bodies through spaces. I don't have to manage, you know, all of this, because it's the managing that gets me distracted. So I'll read the last paragraph and we're done.
Yes.
Okay. Oneness and sickness, she says, cannot coexist. God's teachers choose to look on dreams a while. It is a conscious choice, for they have learned that all choices are made consciously, with full awareness of their consequences. The dream says otherwise, but who would put faith in dreams once they're realized for what they are? Awareness of dreams is the real function of God's teachers. They watch the dream figures come and go, shift and change, suffer and die. Yet they are not deceived by what they see. They recognize that to behold a dream figure as sick and separate is no more real than to regard it as healthy and beautiful. Unity alone is not a thing of dreams. It is this, and it is this God's teachers acknowledge as behind the dream, beyond all seeming, and yet surely theirs. That's what I thought that was a particularly beautiful passage to, you know, underline what you said at the beginning about how beautiful that is. It starts like a hymn and ends like a hymn to me, this beautiful passage. The goal is the awareness of dreams and making choices with our bodies to the expression.
Let me ask real quick. I know we're out of time, but let me ask real quick. Does
Sure.
does your text say dreams or dreaming?
What and it is this God's teachers acknowledge as behind the dream.
No. Awareness of
Comma.
dreaming is the real function of God's teachers, is what this says.
Awareness of dreaming is dreaming. Awareness of dreaming is the real function of God's teachers.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. Sorry we went over. We love you all. Thank you for being here and allowing us to chatter on.
I really appreciate it.
Listening to Herein Lies the Peace of God with Reverend Jacquelyn Eckert and Reverend Glen Ganaway. To find out more about Jacquelyn and to donate to Awakening Together Sanctuary, go to www.awakening-together.org. To find out more about Glen and to donate to the Mighty Companions Ministries, go to www.glenganaway.com. That's GLENGANAWAY.com.
I can see peace instead of pain. Amen.
Appreciate you.
Everybody, good night.
Good night.